Hi you guys, welcome back. Today is July 13th, Sunday. This is vlog number 3 of AIWOS. Let's do a quick little recap of where we left off. In vlog 1, I went over the customer's pain points and the proposal we provided to them. In vlog 2, I explained the work we did in what I call the sandbox, where we developed the proof of concept and got that done. I shared a little bit of that in vlog 2, and I explained a concept video that the customer had asked for. So that's where we left off. Let's continue from there. This week, the people who were supposed to see the concept video were not available this week. So the client side basically was a wash. Didn't do much with the client this week, so everything was focused on the dev side. What we did there. Now, when I left off, we had a proof of concept. One script that just ran object detection on their existing security, blah, 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 blah. Okay. We did all that. Now what we have to do is take that one script and make it scalable for a true environment. We have to make every part of that tool modular so that we can work on every section and add logic to all of those layers as we need. So we started breaking it down, just like my analogy in the other ones where you have a car, same thing. You got to start with the engine. Here, I started with the core engine. Easiest way for me to do this is to visualize it. I made a flow chart of all of my main components that are required to make this system operate. Once again, this is a warehouse oversight system that integrates with their warehouse management system, their transportation management system, their internal communications, tracks everything, all rack placements, all orders that are being packed, and cross-checks it with what's supposed to be in the warehouse management system. In this case, it's extensive, and that's what we're working on. So, once again, we broke everything down into modules. What do I know? I know I have to have an engine that runs all of the main programs, right? So we'll call that the core engine here. Then I know I've got a site over here that has 21 cameras in it. Well, not quite yet. It currently has 13 cameras, but 10 of them are within the internal side, 3 are externals, and I'm going to be adding more cameras. So let's stop here for a second. Let's talk about the cameras. Now, my goal is to use as much existing equipment as possible on these projects because that saves the customers money. In this case, they do have 4K cameras that are recording at 30 frames per second. But that's it. They are the bare bones, and as you know, well, I'm not sure if you know, resolution doesn't equal good image quality. Okay, especially when dealing with a large environment that you have to look at things at a far distance. So we started looking at options for cameras. Most of the stuff they have now will manage the main workflow, which is their job, to track the pathways of everything and see what's going where, when things are entering one zone and leaving another, and when they're interacting with things like the roll-up doors or the rack system. Okay. Now comes the ability to start looking at the product itself. I want to be able to identify serial numbers, QR codes off of boxes, all that stuff. So the cameras I have now just won't be able to do that. So I've come up with a layout for the site using a few PTZs that have some really good qualities. They'll have varifocal lenses that can zoom in 25 times zoom without losing any image quality. They'll have a high pixel count, and I'll be able to control them in the future right from my engine. So as you can see, I had to add a camera control module in here because as it is now, all the cameras are just fixed cameras. There's nothing I can go and control it won't make a difference. You know, there's no zoom in abilities and stuff like that. They're just oversight cameras. So that's where we are with the cameras. When I go to Georgia, which is 2,800 miles from me, is when I'll be back putting in some of these cameras for testing for both aisleways and loading and packing zones and stuff like that. Okay. Meanwhile, what we can do is start building up the whole framework for the system, which includes all the different modules that'll operate everything from the triggers to the alarms to the API interconnections to the WMS, TMS, internal comms, the client dashboard. I mean, there's a lot of things you got to start putting together. So some of these things have green, little highlights of green. Those are because that's what I needed to do first. That's what I did this week. Set up a core engine, set up my site cams, be able to start pulling some videos. I got admin access into the DVR. Now, when it's all said and done, I don't want to touch their DVR. I'm going to be completely bypassing their DVR because I don't want to mess with their security systems. But for now, I do have access into it, so I can draw some clips and do some testing that I need to do. Okay? But like I said, in the end, we're going to be bypassing that and just going straight from the cameras, drawing images right out to the cloud like I need. Okay. Then I had to take that input video and start extracting the frames so I can analyze them frame. I can't analyze a full video at once. I have to take every individual frame and analyze it one by one. Okay. So what I started to do was use pre-trained AI models, which are designed for detecting forklifts and people movement and all this type stuff. Okay. Figured that'd be the best way to start. I mean, these models have been pre-trained by someone else. They're already used in sites. So that's what we worked with. We started doing that early this week. Now, when I say we, it's me. I've been doing it, and I say we because I use a lot of tools to assist me in getting this production done. Now, let's say, when it comes to the frame extraction now, that took a little while to get it the way I want, but now I've got the frames coming in. I'm able to analyze them all perfectly, pipe them into my core engine. That area is done. Now comes the site itself. Now, if I want to expand this in the future to more warehouses, every site has to be unique. So I need a special configuration site that is a configuration file that is unique to the site. Same thing with zone layouts and configurations for that. So I have to make a couple separate modules that'll be plugging in all that information. This week I did that. I set up the site logic, set up all the zonings for every single camera that they currently have, and got that going. And that information is now piping into the core engine. Okay. From there, now it has to go out somewhere. Just putting all this into the engine is one thing. The engine's got to spit out its power somewhere. So eventually it's all going to spit out down here into storage and utilize the storage for queries and everything it needs to do to track and give the information back to the customer. But for now, I don't need to worry about the storage. I'm still in testing mode. So what I did was basically set up a developer dashboard, or what I call an area that I can pipe my output videos to, so that every time I do work on a video, I have somewhere I can send it to without messing with the main core of the system. Okay, so I set that up, got that going, and we started to add some logic into here. Okay, getting it back to the point of where we were before I took it out of the sandbox, let's say. Okay. This took all week, mind you. That's a lot of work to start setting up all these programs and getting everything to work. It's all done. I'll share some of that with you in a few minutes here. And that brings me to where I am going into next week. That is officially the end of the second week. So vlog 1 was the intro. Vlog 2 was the end of proof of production, the first week of work. Vlog 3 today is the end of week 2 of work. Okay, so at the end of week 2, we've got the system running full tracking, full zoning across the entire facility. We are at this point going to start integrating triggers and additional logic so that once I get the final pipeline into the site, and instead of using clips and using the full feed of all the cameras at once, I'll be able to interconnect all the zoning from all those cameras as one individual input, as opposed to just these little video snippets. Okay, so that's the goal. Coming up this next week is probably going to be a lot of integration work. I'm going to be working with, getting in touch with the IT people who run their equipment, and we're going to start with seeing how I'm going to be able to set up a direct connection into their network so that I can draw the images and bypass the DVR. If not, if I can't do that, the next thing I'll do will, for test purposes, I'll set up an API into that DVR so I can start feeding all of the images. It wasn't important until this upcoming week. I had to test every camera individually anyway before I move on to trying to connect them as a unit. So I had to do all that. I probably did 50, 60 tests this week, at least, just running all these scripts through the system over and over and over again, double checking all the zones, double checking all the triggers and all the motion. And then I realized I started to have a lot of false positives using this pre-trained model. So towards the end of the week, I realized it was getting a little frustrating. So I rebuilt the front end of the system. I didn't put it in here. I guess we'll just call that part of logic. And rather than piping everything through, I created a full motion detection system which does image comparators. So it holds this last image, compares it to the next image it receives, whether it's the very next image on that video or 5 seconds later. Does pixel by pixel comparison, tells me everything that is different between the images based on size. I then pump that through different models and I got a much better result. Now I'm able to track a lot of different things, such as identifiers on packages. Even though it's shrink wrapped, I can still identify every unit individually and things like that. It gave me a lot more flexibility for me to work with in the future. In addition, it sped things up immensely. I went from processing 800-900 frames per minute to now my system will process close to 2,000, 2,200, somewhere in that range, which is important. You know, speed is important. The more operations I can eliminate in the background and the faster it'll process this in the end, is just going to benefit the system. Of course, you know, that's just logical. So that's where I'm at this week. Like I said, I'm going to work on some integrations, both on the input side and into their warehouse management system. I'm going to probably set up some of the API stuff. I'm not going to worry about the internal comms with Teams yet. I'm not going to worry about the transportation management system yet. I'm not going to worry about storage again yet. The camera controls, I don't have to worry about that till after I get to Georgia and start installing some of the PTZs that require camera control. So for now, I guess I can show you a little bit of what got accomplished. So I will spin this around and show you the screen if I can. Let me see if I can do this here. I know I struggled with it last week, but we'll see. I believe I have a good view of it there. I have to go a little lower, sorry. All right. So anyway, If I open up my project folder here, you'll see I've got all my folder structure broken down, all my files ready to go. I've got a whole assortment of input videos that I can play with. Where's my input videos at? There they are. Input videos I'm playing with. Then again, I have output stuff. So let me go into my shell here. Let's run one of these videos. Number 6 was a short one, so I'll do that. Let me rename the output here so that it won't come up as the same. We'll just call this number 5. And then I'll run it. So now it's going to take this video and it's going to start analyzing frame by frame by frame by frame by frame. Okay. Meanwhile, while it's doing that, let me go over here to my output videos, and you'll see right here it's currently processing this video. Now I picked a short one. This one's only about a 10-second video. And there it is, it's done. So now when I look at the video, you'll see I have full tracking of all forklifts, people, and everything. I've got my zone aisles laid out in here. It works pretty good. I mean, you can tell I'm literally tracking the person, the cargo, everything. It never misses a beat, which is really nice compared to what I had originally. So that's a little quick view of where we're at, what's going on. Okay, so that's a breakdown of the week. Everything that got done as far as laying out and getting set up to start adding more and more logic on top of this. Hopefully this upcoming week I'll be able to get in touch with the people who need to see the concept video. Once that's get pushed up, get forward, I will be flying out to Georgia, installing some of these PTZs and moving forward, because once I get the PTZs in, then I can work on the optical character recognition and start extracting serial numbers and actually really cross-reference with what's in the system as far as order numbers and quantities and all that type of stuff, and start actually catching errors. So we're moving along. We're well ahead of pace, I would have to assume. My original timeline was 8 weeks. If I were getting out to Georgia now, I would have this thing done in another 2 or 3 weeks. But I'm going to be, like I said, it's going to take a little while before the people there on the client side get the approval and pass it on up. It's just like any other project. I'll keep working on my end of it because I know one way or another this is going to be going through and they're going to need this. So I'll keep you in touch and let you know how everything goes. Well, I'll see you next week, and hopefully I have some more good news or changes to the system we can share. Have a good week, you guys. This is the AIWOS system, as I said before, because it's called AIWOS because AIWOS is going to put the eyes in the warehouse that it's always needed. So stick around and I'll show you next week's growth. Have a good week, you guys.